this video, something very different for you. We've had requests to do something on the Spridgets, the Austin Healey Sprite and the MG Midget, and we've got this Lenham Motor Company bodied example. This is a Mark III MG Midget. It's got quite an interesting history, quite an interesting build, which is almost completed. We're testing it before it is finally actually complete. But before I jump into this specific example, let's quickly talk through the history. Donald Healey had built up a relationship with Austin, the Austin Healey, the original big sports car with a 4-cylinder, later 6-cylinder engine. But Austin and Healey both fancied the idea of something a bit smaller. And the result was the Frog Eye, or Bug Eye, if you're American, Sprite, launched in 1958. This uses the same middle structure as that car. It was later facelifted to bring it more into the style of other MGs, and that version was launched in 1961, I think, with A-series engine and gearbox, effectively Austin A35 running gear, but in a sporty little package. So that became the Austin Healey Sprite Mark II, the MG Midget Mark I, reviving the elderly midget name. But a very, very popular sports car, very small, very dinky, great driving experience. It should be an awful lot of fun. So let's bring owner Fergus in to talk more about what's so special about this one. So that's a bit about Spridget history, but let's talk more about this actual car with the owner, Fergus.
Hello.
So, key question, what is it?
So it is a 1968 MG Midget that's had a Lenham Motor Company body conversion. So that comprises of a fiberglass roof and cam tail for better aerodynamics.
Yep, and that's kind of all the way down to the sill level here.
It is, yeah. You can make out the midget sill shape, the familiar shape there, which is usually what is the giveaway. People notice what it is. But the wheel arches and tail and roof are all fiberglass. The front end is also fiberglass clamshell.
Yep.
However, this is not a Lenham clamshell. This is an Ashley.
Okay,
which was
which they fitted
company.
to lots of standard looking midgets.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people fitted this and left the rest of the midget standard.
Yeah. So if I presume that gives better engine access and
it
it's
does,
just a bit lighter.
Yeah. The Lenham front is more of a smiley front. The Ashley has a larger opening.
Excellent. So how did you come to acquire this car?
So this was my uncle's car. It was his 70th car. He bought it when he was 84 as a lockdown project to keep him busy.
Yeah.
And he's worked with cars all of his life. He's an architect, but cars are very much a close hobby for him. And also he competed, as did his sons. In fact, it's his family that turned me into a petrol head. That was formed at a very, very early age. We went racing in Scotland. It became apparent that he wasn't going to finish the project in a reasonable time. So rather than just tuck it away in the garage, his son suggested that I maybe take the project on, which he agreed. And in May last year, it was delivered down to Surrey. And I immediately started work on it.
Super. Because your background's classic car restoration anyway, although not quite on this scale.
No, a little bit larger, usually 2 or 4 more cylinders.
Yeah, a few more carburetors.
Yeah, I work for a classic Aston Martin specialist. Although I've owned Japanese cars for most of my driving life, I've never owned a British car. When this came to me, it was all quite familiar with Lucas wiring colours. I know them off by heart.
So how much have you had to do to it?
So it arrived as a rolling shell. It was painted. I immediately didn't like the sunroof that it had.
Oh gosh.
So that came out.
What, is it just a modern sort of pop-up?
It was an 80s horrible thing. With the catch at the back.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like it. So that came out straight away. First job was to learn how to lay glass fibre.
Oh well, so that isn't something. Well, no, Aston Martins don't tend to be fiberglass, do they? Unless someone's been hiding aluminium. Something.
Yeah. So I laid in the glass fibre, got rid of the sunroof and towed it to the local paint shop, who's resprayed the roof and done a very good job, I think.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you wouldn't know it hadn't all been painted at the same time.
No.
We look at the mechanical package.
Absolutely. You know what to do?
Yep. Well versed now, and up she goes. Gosh. It might be easier if I take the camera for this section. because we're a little limited on space around the engine. Wow, so would have been a 1275cc A-series engine originally. It looks like it probably still is.
It's not.
No.
No, when it came to me, it was already rebored up 40 thou, which gives you 1310 cc.
Bit extra.
Absolutely. It's got a 45mm Delorto carburettor.
That's a good size.
Yeah, but with I've reduced the choke sizes in there, so that effectively makes it a smaller carburettor, which is more suitable for road use.
Yep.
It's got a road-based cam in it now, a Piper 255, which makes it all the more tractable.
Yeah.
Peak revs is lower as a result of that. I've added a heater because it's now a road car. I've fitted dual circuit brakes because they're safer.
Yeah.
I've remade the wiring loom.
Gosh.
And added extra fuses because they don't have many fuses.
Is that the cooling fan gubbins?
This is cooling fan control. So it thermostatically checks the temperature of the radiator.
The dinky little battery.
Very small. The same is fitted to my Toyota Corona, which you can see in another one of Ian's videos.
Indeed. Oh, I like the plug. He's a professional. Yeah, loving it. You've got alternator as well, so
yep.
All mod cons, and this is beautifully done.
So that was on the insistence of Oz from Osborne Automotive Preparation, that it must have a good breather. So it's had an extra breather added here. And 2 breather filters, so the engine is protected from the dust, but it's free to breathe.
If I find a way to it, I've got a little oil cooler down here as well.
That's right, that was on the car when I had it.
Yeah, lovely. Oh, is that a multi-plug on the wiring, so you can get the...
That is a multi-plug, yes. The other plan for that is this is going to be towed behind our camper van. Again, you can see that video on your channel.
I've got to remember to put all these links in there.
It'll appear over here.
Yeah.
So that we can hook the car's wiring up to the camper van, so the lights work when we're driving along without the need
so you'll
for
be
A-framing
it?
No, on a towing dolly.
A towing dolly, okay, yeah.
So this will be our holiday runaround when we take it back to Scotland in August for my uncle's 90th birthday. He's going to drive it on his birthday around Knockhill Racing Circuit.
Oh, brilliant. That's going to be amazing.
Very much so.
Yeah, what a fascinating little car. Right, we'll go and have a look inside, and then we'll take this little beauty for a drive. The first challenge is just getting in. So let's go one leg in, then bum, ooh, onto the solid metal seat. So once you're in, it's not actually as bad as you expect. There's plenty of room for me to stretch even my quite long legs out. Would you like to look at my long legs? Look at beautiful legs. But the pedal area is really offset to the one side. I've got loads of space here to get my foot past the clutch pedal. But when I'm on the throttle, I've got to be careful not to hit the brake. And when I hit the brake, I've kind of got to keep my foot on the side to make sure I don't hit the throttle. And to think this was, you know, a competition car, must have been drivers with dainty little feet indeed. But these seats, they're covered in blue fluff, but it is just metal sort of drilled for extra lightness. But you got the full harnesses to keep you in place. One thing I do love though, if I just pop the ignition on, come and have a look at the indicators. It's just a bulb behind a little cutout, but it works really, really well. And generally the dials are very lovely. The rev counter doesn't work at the moment. Like I say, it's not a fully completed car. Let's not cook the coil. The speedometer overreads quite dramatically. Fergus has got the air fuel meter because he's still been monitoring the carbs. He's still doing final tuning on it, just road tuning. But let's go through the switches. We've got oil pressure and water temperature here. We've got fuel gauge here. That doesn't seem to work either. We've got lights, side light and headlights. And down here, if I just pop this on, we've got a heater. You can recirculate or you can have fresh air, and one turn gives you your one heater speed. And then we've got, that's a heated rear window, bit posh, but it is apparently just an MGB rear window. So Fergus thought, well, I might as well fit a heated one, windscreen washer, and then we've got wipers. At the current moment, the wipers aren't working. We'll see if we can get those working later in the test. And we suspect this is aftermarket, but it's a hazard light switch and probably a sensible fitment. But yeah, the gear lever falls perfectly to hand just here, and it's a really snickety little action on it. So very, very precise. Oh, cooking the coil again. Steering wheel, very small, but you know, Alcantara rim, very competition focused. Got the indicator stalk down here, just standard Lucas item. And then, you know, got winding windows, because this is based on a slightly later Midget. Originally the Midgets just had little side screens, but it's got the full winding window specification. But yeah, it's a fascinating history of Lenham, and it makes it a really functional car in some ways. We've got loads of load space in the back. The only slight issue being the only access is over the seats in the front. I'm not sure how I'm going to get my bag back. It might be lost for all time. And Fergus also fitted opening rear quarter lights. These controls are out of a Volkswagen Beetle, and it just smartens up the lines and just gives a bit more airflow through the cabin, which is always a good idea. But lots of blue paint in here. And yeah, as you'll soon find out, quite a lot of noise. So let's go for a drive. First of all, we've got full harnesses, so I just need to get belted in, and so does my co-driver, before we can actually even go anywhere. Now clearly you couldn't drive anywhere in the 60s without your glamorous assistant, so I shall hand you back. Thank you very much. It's just a regular key start, just make sure we're in neutral. Classic Lucas, it might need a touch of throttle. There we go. Water temperature coming down now, the coolant is circulating again, engine oil building up nicely. Yep, that makes me nice and happy. And now we'll learn that the gearbox has straight cut gears in the first 3 ratios, certainly. So it is, it's quite loud, but we'll go and work our way down to the main road. Handy over the shoulder view. And that's us up to 40 miles an hour, which is all we're allowed to do on this section. But yeah, it's a mechanical symphony going on there. So straight cut gears, I think, are popular in competition because they're stronger. But obviously they are very loud, which is why I think early cars generally had straight cut gears, and very often in first gear as well, just for that extra strength, because that's where you're at maximum torque. And that's why old cars tend to have a noisy first gear, but this has got a noisy 3 gears. But yeah, it's a pleasant, docile little car when you're bimbling along at 40 miles an hour like this. Rides a little firm, but it kind of needs to be. It's a sports car. The roads, unfortunately, are a little on the bumpy side. So Fergus has changed the rear axle. It was very much competition minded and was doing 4,800 revs at 70 miles an hour. He's now fitted a taller diff, and that has made it much quieter at speed. As you can hear, 4th gear is nice and quiet. Oh. We shall accelerate very gently up to speed on the dual carriage drive with it closed. Yeah, I'm still going to say it's a little revvy at speed. We're ignore the speed out, doing about 70 miles an hour, and it is a little on the tedious side, but cruising down motorways was never what these cars were about. They were about bombing down country roads, and unfortunately in this part of Surrey, most of the country roads have 40 mile an hour speed limits. You're not allowed to have fun anymore. It has been deemed unlawful to have fun, effectively. But yeah, the soundtrack of this car is quite extraordinary. Crazy noises. She likes revs. Aha! Oh, it's a bit bumpy. I'm not sure I do fancy trying to do 60 along here, in all honesty. Yeah, the engine is so lusty because the A-Series engine always had such a good amount of torque. We've got a Quaife Limited slip diff in the back as well. Ensure good traction. This feels like we're doing 1,000,000 miles an hour. So much quieter as you get it into fourth. Oh yeah, these are the sorts of roads we want. You can hear the air being sucked into the carburetors, as well as the raughty exhaust. Yeah, proper British sports car motoring. Boy, I feel a little twitchy on the limit just because they're so short. Oh, yeah, that's what it's all about. We will apparently be going left. Ignoring the right turn? There's no right turn sign there, are we? Okay, fine. Go, little car. This is proper usable power. You can kind of use every bit of power this car has got, and you're not breaking speed limits. So yeah, why would you want to go faster? You can't really unleash that potential, whereas this you can access all of it. I mean, I'm not confident to really push it, even on these big fat sticky 175s, but yeah, would have worn 145 section tyres when it was new. Oh, bit of a bog. Oh, marvellous. So the Sprigget series of cars did sell really well in America, but they were reaching the limits of clean power out of the A series, which is why later midgets ended up with the Triumph 1500 engine. But the cars were so detuned as well, so the bigger engine didn't mean more power, not for poor Americans. Oh wow, that car is not easy to get into, not easy to get out of. The load area is almost inaccessible. It's really, really noisy, it's quite bumpy, and yet it is so much fun. I'd love to take it on a little handling circuit. It'd be an absolute joy. And I think it may well be appearing on track. I think Fergus is hoping to take it to Retro Rides Weekender at Goodwood Circuit, and why not? Really let it absolutely fly. But proof, even with humble running gear, once again, the Brits are so good at making something that is so much fun to drive. So thank you very much to Fergus for letting me drive this beautiful little car, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Farewell. Don't worry folks, we fixed the windscreen wipers. Look at that. Yeah, the washers are a bit, yeah, but there is a quite big triangle of doom here. But American midgets later had free windscreen wipers to make up for this gap in the middle of the screen. But that is so cute.